Alright, what's up everyone, I'm Filoki, and today I wanted to quickly talk about the whole situation with Snacks Harrison and why he was cut by the Seahawks, and what I think about it. Damon Snacks Harrison was someone that the Seahawks brought in due to the injury of Brian Monet. He was on the practice squad for about a month, and then he ended up playing in our first game against the Rams this season, and he played pretty well. Honestly, he didn't get too many snaps. I believe he averaged around 20 snaps a game, not too much. But he definitely was productive. He had a forced fumble in that time. He had some really nice run-stopping plays, and that's kind of what we brought him in for. You know, a veteran presence at the defensive line, and he made some good run-stopping plays. We brought him in to stop the run, and he did exactly that. He did what he was brought in to do. And I mean, he left with no bad blood. And honestly, this situation, it would have been nice to have him in the playoffs. You know, a veteran presence, someone that can stop the run. You know, it would have been nice to have that in the playoffs. But I understand why he wanted to leave, and it makes sense all around. Snacks Harrison is 32 years old, so he's not getting any younger. He wants to go to a team where he can play before his career is over, or maybe he just wants to end his career at the age that he is. He's had a lot of success in the league. He's made a lot of money in the league. So it would make sense for him to either decide he wanted to retire and spend time with his family, or he wanted to go to a team where he's going to get more usage, a team that needs him more, honestly. Because the Seahawks, they have really good defensive tackles. They have Jaron Reed, they have Poona Ford, and now that Brian Monet is coming off the injured reserve, he is now healthy going into the playoffs. It seemed like Snacks Harrison, he kind of realized he's just going to get less and less snaps, and he doesn't want to take snaps away from people that deserve it more, and he said that on Twitter. Snacks actually said quite a bit on Twitter about this entire situation, and honestly, I mean, most of it makes sense. The whole not taking snaps, nothing ended on bad blood. It's just, it made sense for both sides in his opinion, and I think it does actually make quite a bit of sense for both sides. In his first tweet about the situation after he was officially cut by the Seahawks, Damon Harrison had this to say: "I want to thank my teammates and the Seahawks for allowing me to be a small part in the 2020 season. Wish it didn't have to end, but it's time for us both to move on. All love 12s," with a blue heart. So obviously no bad blood there. And then his next tweet just 5 minutes later, he said, "What's next for me? I'm not sure. I have to make sure my family is good before I do anything. They are my first priority. I'd like to keep playing, but with COVID and other logistics, it's tough to just pack up and immediately leave. I'll keep you all posted." Now, of course, with the whole situation with the Rona and the NFL, it's going to be tough for any other team to pick him up before playoff time. And I don't think he's going back to the Seahawks, but if he does want to play for another team, it's probably going to be difficult for him to get on that team. So it seems like he's probably done for this season, but I would not doubt for a second that he could be back next season. He definitely showed that he can still play when he was with the Seahawks, even with limited snaps. He showed that he's still pretty good. And I think any team that's struggling on the defensive line would be willing to pick him up, at least as a backup-ish kind of player. And finally, in response to someone mentioning how he basically just gave up a postseason run and possibly a Super Bowl opportunity by leaving the Seahawks, he had this to say: "I just want to play, period. Don't care about snaps, stats, etc. I'm a football player and I just want to play. There's no bad blood at all. I understand the business side. Before I sit around and try and take snaps from a young guy who deserves to be out there playing, I'd rather leave. There's a lot of snakes in the NFL, but I'm not one of them." So from those tweets and, you know, what I've seen from Pete Carroll and other players around Damon Harrison, there's no bad blood whatsoever. It just seems like it made more sense for both Snacks Harrison and the Seahawks to move on, because Snacks, he knew that he was going to be losing snaps to Brian Monet, who was coming in back from injury, and he didn't want to take his snaps, but he also didn't want to just be some guy that just sits on the team and does absolutely nothing. He wants to play football. He made that clear. He wants to play, so I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back next year. But he didn't want to take someone else's opportunities, and he also didn't want to just be someone who rides the bench. Makes absolute sense. And, you know, one thing that really made me like this whole, you know, tweeting that he did was how he was mentioning that there's a lot of snakes and he doesn't want to be one of them, which is really nice to see, because, you know, you could have a veteran who has a lot of pride and he wants to stay on a team and just win out, take, you know, snaps from rookies or something. Damon Harrison, he definitely showed a lot of class, showing that he'd rather leave a team than try to take snaps away from a younger guy who needs to develop, get better, and can help the team in later years. So that's really nice to see from Damon Harrison. I mean, that made me respect his decision a lot more. Of course, it would have been nice to have him here, especially if we do go to the Super Bowl and win. Hopefully he gets something, you know, kind of as a consolation for being on the team and helping us get a couple wins, playing, you know, with us. Hopefully he gets something if we do end up winning the Super Bowl, but I don't want to think too far ahead. But I definitely respect Damon Harrison's decision to leave the Seahawks. And he didn't actually play in the Rams game because he had kind of made the decision before the last Rams game, but he played a couple games for us, made a bit of an impact, and I mean, he definitely filled in for a spot that was pretty hurt with Brian Monet getting injured, and I respect him for his decision, and I hope him the best in the future. But what does this mean for the Seahawks playoffs run? I mean, really not too much, because of course we have Jarran Reed, we have Poona Ford, and we have Brian Monet. We have 3 very good defensive tackles. Jarran Reed, hopefully he will be fine. He's had a chest injury that kind of got re-aggravated last game, so hopefully he'll be all right. Poona Ford had a great play last game where he just ran down a wide receiver like 20 yards. But, I mean, our defensive tackles are good, and I think that's the main reason why Damon Harrison decided that he wanted to leave, because he knew he wasn't going to get snaps, and he didn't want to take snaps from other people. He's made that clear, and it makes a lot of sense. And going into the postseason, hopefully we don't have any injuries on the defensive line or in the defensive tackle spot, because it would really suck if he just left and then we have an injury and we would need someone else to come and fill in. But really, I respect Damon Harrison's decision. I wish him the best in the future, and, I mean, there's no bad blood between him and the players. There's no bad blood between him and the fans, I could only assume. And hopefully going into the playoffs, hopefully we stay healthy at just about every single spot that we can. Hopefully the running backs stay healthy, because we haven't had that in like the last 2 years. So, you know, there's a lot of potential for the Seahawks going into the future, and our defense has been playing really well. And, you know, this video is about Snacks Harrison. Hopefully he does great next year if he is signed to another team. And I'd like to see him play some more, because he definitely showed that he still has a lot left in the tank. But no matter what Snacks decides to do, whether that's play for a new team in this postseason, if he can get on a new team, play for a different team in the next season, or if he wants to just hang it up and retire, completely up to him. I don't think there will be any backlash for whatever he decides by any NFL fans, Seahawks fans, or anybody. He's shown that he's a great player, great teammate, and a great guy. And I think just about anyone can like him and respect the decision that he decided to make. And, you know, I respect it. And that's about it for this video. I just really wanted to mention this, because it was kind of weird if you just saw, you know, he was cut by the Seahawks and didn't know the entire story. It wouldn't really make sense, because he's a good player. But, I mean, it definitely makes sense when you look at everything and why he was cut, his decision that he made, and how the Seahawks, you know, respected it and actually allowed him to be cut and actually did what he wanted. So, I mean, I definitely respect his decision. I respect the Seahawks for, you know, cutting him like he asked. But overall, that's going to be it for the video. Let me know down below what you think about this situation. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new. And with that, I'd like to thank you for watching. Have a great day.